Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Happy welcome to Stranger Things with Jay, Jack, and Mike. My name is Jay.
My name is Mike.
Hey, hey, Jonathan, how about a beer? No, I'm good. I have a Coke.
And, welcome to the show. How's it going, gentlemen?
What? I like how that one was actual dialogue. Jack was playing 2 points in one. This is really becoming my favorite running gag. I know it's been a long time running gag, but I like trying to think about what Jack's going to say every time we get on the air here.
Well, I don't know where Jay's going. I'm just talking about, Coca-Cola.
Sure, wholesome Coca-Cola.
Would you prefer Jonathan not be drinking?
Sure. I would just like to be able to get these actors on the show without you veiling other things about them. But sure, that's fine. Whatever.
I don't recall. I don't understand what you're trying to say.
I'm not going to let Jack derail the start to season 2 of Stranger Things with Jay, Jack, and Mike. A rare podcasting moment for us in that we're going straight from season 1 into season 2. No pauses, no breaks, and excited to talk about these first two chapters of the new season of Stranger Things.
How dedicated are we going from season 1 into season 2? I mean, years of podcasting nonstop.
But excited to talk about it. Mike, how is it? Because Angela's a big fan. Try to get you to watch it, and you didn't watch with her, but now you could actually watch it with her. What was that like?
Well, sort of, because we did watch the first 2 episodes together in the course of this podcast. But I just felt in my peripherals, I knew that the binge aspect of her cerebral cortex was just twitching the entire time. And she knew, especially with the way the second episode ended, she said out loud, I need to watch what happens right now. So I let her go. So, we spent basically last night and tonight, she essentially binged the rest of the season. Granted, it's only, 7 more episodes, so it's not that much. But this was probably the biggest test of willpower that I have committed myself to thus far in my pop culture recap experience, in that I had my wife sitting 2 feet next to me watching the rest of the season on her phone with her headphones in, but
on her phone?
I tried to not steal us, because she was nice enough to not put it on the TV while I was doing other things, but I was trying not to sneak a sideways glance or try to hone in too much on what music might be playing or what characters are saying, because I want to go as fresh as possible. I mean, it's always tough in general to recap these types of shows that get released all at once. You never know. Some people, like my wife, might take care of it all in a weekend. Some might really try to peter it out over the course of several weeks, like we're going to do. It's going to be tough to stay, on social media as well.
That's where I've run into some challenges, because I've already seen some memes and stuff like that of stuff that I haven't seen yet. And it's like, oh man, I can't even go on Instagram or Twitter. I have to be guarded now for the next month.
This is the first time I think we've ever done a show that comes out all at once and try to podcast about it. And I'm like your wife. I wanted to watch we watched it the other night, and I wanted to immediately watch the 3rd episode. I go, I can't. I got to watch just 2. And try to stay as spoiler-free as I can. But you see all these people, oh my God, did you see what happened? I'm like, oh, shut up.
And to answer to Jay's point, what I will say, and maybe this is sort of advice to anyone out there who might want to either go along the journey with us with watching only 2 episodes at a time, or just someone who like myself, is not usually a big binger and doesn't want to spoil themselves, muted hashtags or muted words on Twitter especially are your friend in that regard. Just, block the Stranger Things hashtag for a few weeks until you're finished, and that'll help. That'll sift through at least most of the dirt until you're able to find those nuggets of gold. But you brought this up, Jack. I'd be intrigued to hear from you guys. You had, your big Halloween party that also functioned as viewing the first 2 episodes. And again, I'm so used to watching these episodes either alone or with one other person. I've never watched these episodes before with a gaggle of people. Is this a show that really benefits the group viewing experience?
I think so, because I think there's a lot of call outs and kind of funny jokes and funny moments that I think got a lot of laughs in the room. I will say I wish it was scarier or had as many jump scares as the first season did in the first couple episodes. I'm not saying it wasn't scary, but I would say, and Mike, I'll let you be the true barometer for this, but I feel like there wasn't as many scary moments, so I think would have been fun in a room full of people watching the show.
There was talk, though. People would say, okay, you might want to warn Mike at the 3:30 mark that there's something that could be scary. This was people that were there watching it.
I'm glad people are looking out for me. That really, I'm truly honored by that, completely sincerely.
Because it wasn't Jay and I saying it. That was just, I thought it was mean, but I said, okay, I'm writing it down.
And Jack and I were in Stranger Things costumes. Jack dressed up as Hopper. Chief Hopper. He had a pretty good costume too. It looked you must have spent at least $50 on this costume because it was more than costume.
It was. The mug alone was $10. I think altogether it was like $80.
And I dressed up as a Ghostbuster, Peter Venkman, much like Lucas and Will.
I was gonna say I like how that was like a tangential Stranger Things costume. Though we did know from the trailers that it was going to be they were going to dress up as Ghostbusters. I think there was even a Super Bowl commercial that had them do that. Yes. So I was gonna say that Jay, you lucked out in doing that, considering how much you love Ghostbusters. But no, I think it could have been premeditated, considering how much we knew they were gonna do this beforehand.
It was vaguely premeditated in that I've had a Ghostbusters costume for 15 years now, and I generally wear it when I'm being lazy and don't want to come up with a costume. I was like, perfect! It actually fits in with Stranger Things. Yay! And we also
perfect timing for this release too. In that again, we haven't watched episode 3, but I'm pretty sure episode 2 is where Halloween night concludes, and we're recording this the night before Halloween. So really perfect timing on our parts, and I'm assuming we'll completely fall apart once, the show takes place over the course of a week and ours takes place over the course of a month and a half.
Well, nonetheless, it'll be exciting to see. We set up the lights, Will's lights, Christmas lights with the letters and everything like that. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody that came out to our little Stranger Things viewing party. And with that, I'm curious to see, the lights was such an iconic thing from season 1. Haven't really seen something like that yet in these first 2 episodes. I'll be curious to see if they'll even try to do something that's kind of like an iconic look like the lights were. I don't know what they could do, but I'm curious to see what they could do.
I mean, we don't know what's in that trash can. I have a thought as to what's going to be in that trash can, but it might be something that sells a lot of toys, branded Stranger Things, in the next couple of weeks.
It's Slimer. Clearly, it's Slimer. All right. Well, I think that's a good intro. You guys ready to jump into these 2 chapters?
Mm-hmm.
We do have some feedback as well. We got an email. We had actually 2 emails. But a man who will not be named, Ethan, I think had a spoiler in it. So to save you, Jack and Mike, I will hold that email until I think it can actually be said.
Okay, that works for me.
So I don't
want to be spoiled.
With the emails, we'd love your feedback, but make sure you title it for the episode that we're talking about today. We're doing 1 and 2. Next week we're doing 3 and 4, and so forth and so on. But yeah, it wasn't that big of a spoiler, but I just want to be as spoiler free as possible. If anybody's curious, we are breaking it down 2 chapters per episode. We realize there's 9 chapters in this season, so maybe the last one will have 3 chapters, or we might break out maybe the finale from the 2. But either way, we will let you know what's coming up. So if you are watching it with us, you can. Or say you want to wait till this podcast is done and then just binge through it when you binge the show. That's possible. I mean, really, do it however you want to do it, but know that we will not be spoilering our viewing past the 2 episodes we're talking about today.
Yes, no spoiler luring at all.
I just thought of something.
What's that?
I can watch it after we record.
You can.
Yeah,
if you can remember what happened 6 days from now.
No, I could watch it then. I could watch it again though.
That's
and
true.
Again and again. All right, gentlemen, are you ready?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm all excited now. Let's get this
Yes,
thing
I'm
over
gonna
with.
Yeah,
right.
Jack has more episodes to watch. Come on.
My
let's get
life
through
has
it.
a meaning. Oh, yes. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, Chapter 1 is Madmax in all caps. Almost a year after the events of the first season, a psychic girl with a tattoo identical to Eleven's, marking her as 008, is working as part of a criminal...
Wait. Who called that?
Who would you call?
When I said the girl, I said, "Oh, she has powers."
Yeah.
You said, "No, she doesn't."
I didn't
no, she
say
doesn't.
that. I didn't
Yeah,
say
you
that.
did. She
So,
goes,
so,
"No,
this,
she
so, so or just to clarify, so we're talking about you guys were at the party watching this cold open, and Jack, you said, "Oh, the girl, I forget her actual name, Callie, she has powers," and that's before the whole fake bridge crash thing happens.
Yeah, and Jay's like, "Oh, well,
I didn't push it back. I said, "Oh, that'd be cool." I didn't say no.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said, Mike.
A bit of
Anyway, so
retconning here.
and he goes, "How'd you know?" I go, "Because they kept showing her face, and the close-ups. They go, what was the point of showing her face?" So anyway, I hate to take pat myself on the back, but
Okay, all right.
I'm
Save
patting
your
myself on
glad
the back
hand
right
until after I get through the short little recap here. Then we can go to the top moments.
I didn't want to forget it.
Is working as part of a criminal gang in Pittsburgh. Back in Hawkins, Will, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas meet a new girl at school, Maxine Max, who immediately captures the interest of Dustin and Lucas, while her older brother Billy antagonizes Steve. Mike and Nancy are still dealing with the losses of Eleven and Barb, respectively. Will has been experiencing hallucinations of the Upside Down that feature visions of an enormous tentacled creature. Joyce and Hopper take Will to be seen at the lab by the new head scientist, Dr. Owens, and at the end of the episode, Hopper goes home to a cabin in the woods where he lives with Eleven, who is revealed to be still alive. Was that your theory, too? I mean, I think... Oh, you were just
she was
sharing
still
like
alive.
it was your theory.
No,
all right.
I think we all assumed she was still alive.
Well, it was in the trailer, so that one was like the trailer released 6 months ago.
I'm taking credit for that one.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Well, let's go to top moments here. Introduced
you-
to 008. Thoughts here? Just a very interesting way to open up season 2 with characters you don't know. But a bit of a world expansion with this opening scene. But thoughts here with this introduction of a new superpowered individual.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, I think there's so many parallels you can draw to other shows. I mean, I even feel like, we've recapped The Leftovers, specifically the latter 2 seasons, really like to start off the show like this, right? To almost have a completely disconnected cold open, and sometimes it ties in tangentially to what's going on plot-wise. Sometimes it's more thematic and representative. I'm still trying to figure out which one is which, but you have to feel like this concept of number 8, that there's got to be some sort of other mythos, that there are other, kids that might have gotten experimented on and somehow escaped out there. The interesting thing about number 8 is that number 8 possesses some of the same qualities as 11, including the nosebleeds and everything,
Yep.
but it seems like 8 does something different than 11. It seems like 11 has more telekinetic abilities,
Yep.
whereas 8 has more, honestly, like Inception-like abilities. She has the ability to like mind F you and trick you into thinking that something's real when it really isn't. She's very much like the Scarecrow from Batman. So it'll be interesting to see, maybe all Hawkins has done all these other types of experiments and all these other types of kids that they almost all have their different superpower. And maybe we'll see in season 5, all the numbers come back together and form their own sort of X-Man like league.
Well, it's so funny because it's like you see the number 8, and I was like, because the number 11 for 11. At no point was I thinking in the first season like, oh, well, there's 10 before her and maybe one's after. When it's so obviously so, and it kind of this scene kind of just like knocks me on the head. I was like, oh, of course that makes sense that there's other people out there with powers.
Well, I have to say I thought that, but that's okay. But my question is, so now we know for sure there's more than just 11. Now, is 11 the last one? Because she's the only one we see at the that's at the institute there. Is there more or is there more locations that they're doing these studies at? Because we see 8 is in Pittsburgh. So are they different? Are there different locations they're doing these different? I mean, could they be doing them in different parts of the world?
True.
Yeah, I think that 11 is the last one in Hawkins, but I will say, because we're talking about a show that's going to go for 4 or 5 seasons, I do think we're going to get like Stranger Things World Tour eventually, where we have like, oh, here's Bosnian 13 coming in to, cause waves to, flood the coastline or something like
Stranger
that. I do
Things
think
Australia.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Talk about the upside down under. I do think that there is a definite chance that there will be other people from other different types of laboratories. Again, we don't necessarily know the history of Hawkins that much as to, did Brenner really go rogue, or is there really sort of an underground operation going on in multiple locations? But I like to think, from what we know about 11, specific to that laboratory, she was the last one, because once the gate opened up, she escaped. And it feels like if there were other subjects there, we know about it, right? If they were there simultaneously.
You would think so.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
You could still probably explain it because it's a big building and we didn't see everything, but that would be a bit of Nikki and Paulo, season 3 of Lost.
But I think there was a reason why they showed Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and number 8. I think they're showing us there's more than one location. Mm-hmm. There's obviously more than one child who's been, they've been experimenting on and stuff. So I think they did a good job of setting that up.
All right.
At least that's what I got.
Number 2 for top moments. Remember arcades? Oh man, so cool. Bringing us back.
Except for when the arcades go really creepy and black and white, and then a storm comes in and a giant spider looms in the sky. That's the harsh part about arcades.
Yeah, people forget that about the arcades when they're being all reminiscent of the old times.
Well, I think that could have happened with a lot of friends I know at arcades.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going around at those arcades aside from quarters. A lot of stuff being passed around.
Not that I was there, but there's a lot of guys that were, hey, I'm next. But anyway, so.
Yeah, I think that guy Keith, that total mouth breather.
Yeah. Can you set me up with your sister? Yeah.
But I love how this character of Max is somewhat introduced in this, in that somebody is taking over the Dig Dug, I think Dustin's Dig Dug and Centipede score. But again, just kind of takes you a really good set piece that takes you back to our core characters here that we love.
Well, now kids don't have that nowadays, except they have, I guess, when you're doing you playing against each other over the, with game, whatever they have now. But they don't have that where to get the high score was a big deal when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and like you said, it was almost like gambling, because you'd have to go back to see if you still had the high score. And when someone beat me, I got to play that again so I can get the high score again.
Well, that's what was crazy about Dragon's Lair. It was 2 quarters per play, which back then it was one of the most expensive games. So it definitely rang home for me, because I just remember that game was impossible to win. Love the opening. And again, love bringing it back into the characters, them scrounging for money, scrounging for quarters.
Yeah. I also loved getting to, in these 2 episodes specifically, we got to find out more about Dustin's mom and Lucas's family a little bit. His little sister, which does not shy at calling him a nerd, but I love that, because I do feel like that was one of the key things that was missing from season 1. So it's exciting to see it here. One more thing I want to note about this scene: love the Devo coming in. Especially, it happened I think both times they went to the arcade this episode. But one thing I noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed it too. I mean, Stranger Things season 1, outside of the Clash, didn't really have that much background music. In these 2 episodes, at least, a lot of background music. And I wonder if part of it is just because the show has more money now, and so they're like, oh, great, let's buy as many 80s songs as we can and throw them in there.
I was thinking the special effects were better. I also thought the special effects were better this year, this first 2 episodes.
Yeah, you can tell the show has benefited from an extra boost of budget. While it's been really fun with all of the music, Is that distracting? It was a little. I don't say it was off-putting, but it definitely. I noticed it, which I don't know if you're supposed to notice all of this extra music.
Part of me hopes if they're going for more of a thematic thing, that I hope they really piped in a lot of this soundtrack now, and then as the season progresses, that music is going to winnow out, sort of represent. We even see it in this episode that there's almost a layer of artifice on Hawkins. It sort of has had like a veneer buffed onto it after the events of last year, but nothing is truly all right underneath the surface. And so if they're going this idea of, the stranger things are slowly breaking through the facade that has been created at Hawkins, the mask that the trick-or-treat child of Hawkins, Indiana put over its face. I kind of like this idea of, we're going to start off with bubblegum pop songs that everybody loves about the 80s, and then it's slowly going to crack through to, okay, now we're back into like silence-filled nightmare land.
Yep. And kind of leading out of this, the arcade kind of open, Will has the vision of the Thessal Hydra. Now, Mike, you kind of brought this theory in our last episode. Is this creature going to be the Thessal Hydra? They didn't say it in this, but I like that as a name, so that's what I'm going to go with. Are you fine with calling it Thessal Hydra as the D&D player out of the three of us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not as much of a stickler with the monsters, and I'm not going to say, well, that's not a Thessal Hydra, because for all we know, it could be. We only have seen the bottom part of it. We don't know what's on top of there.
That and really the Demogorgon didn't look like a Demogorgon, right?
No.
Yeah, so.
So there.
Yeah. But this thing is gigantic, and it's going to be a lot harder to beat than the Demogorgon was. That's just how I'm feeling. Just calling it as I see it right now.
I'll back you 100% because I really don't care what they call it.
New characters, introduced to a lot of new characters. We have Max, who's a great foil for Lucas and Dustin to kind of obsess over, and we have Billy, who's this kind of new bad boy on campus.
He's the James Dean of that world, man.
But I understand 80s hair to a certain extent, but his I don't understand.
Well, I think I was trying to figure out, because we obviously don't know a lot about Max and Billy's situation. I'm assuming we'll find out more about it, but I'm wondering if it's like, is it purposely white trash hair? Because I feel like Steve had a little bit of like a mullet thing going on, but like he was going for more of the pompadour, but this feels definitively different. This feels like, I know the Byers family is not necessarily well off, but I feel like Max and Billy come from like a trailer park that's parked, on the outskirts of Hawkins.
He's definitely dressing like that. The hair,
but he has a nice car.
It is a pretty sweet ride. I don't know. But definitely some mystery there. And I would assume we find out as the season goes along. Next up, we have the fantastic, lovable Sean Astin as Bob. Who is Joyce's new love versus. I know for you, Mike, you're a big Hopper and Joyce shipper. Like, how are you feeling about this right now?
Oh no, Hopper, move aside. I'm all about Bob here, baby. I'm all in. I love me some Bob. Bob's fantastic.
Yeah,
He's such a goober.
Now, does Joyce love Bob, or is Bob just comfort food?
I don't know. I mean, the way they were lustfully going after each other in that stockroom, because I could totally see, you're totally right, Jack, of, Bob is sort of like arm candy in a way. He's like, he's unlike Lonnie. He's very nice and reliable. And he just wants the best for Joyce and her family. But at the same time, I feel like they were hinted at something a little more passionate in their relationship. I don't know. I'm rooting for these crazy kids. Maybe it's because of my unabashed love for Sean Astin. But I love Bob in general and just how he really tries to be cool in his hokey sense of humor. It's everything I love and more.
Well, it's obvious that Hopper doesn't like him so much. And the whole time I was like, well, why didn't you guys get together if you're that kind of... You can tell there's some tension there. Towards the end of the episode, okay, well, that makes sense why they couldn't... he didn't really couldn't be with her. But do you think that's this? Is there going to be a triangle situation here, or Mike, maybe I already know your thoughts here. It's Bob and Joyce forever. But Jack, like, do you think there's going to be a triangle situation here?
Well, not as long as he has 11. He's keeping 11 under wraps. He can't be with Joyce.
It's true.
What would he do with 11?
And I mean, the work schedule, Hopper's out to all hours of the night investigating rotting pumpkins. Bob has a very solid job at Radio Shack. He can get you cameras whenever he wants. I'm just saying, you know, there's a very alluring, it's like Jonathan versus Steve in a way, where there's someone who's like much more reliable, albeit, you know, a little less dark and mysterious. But sometimes you want to go for that at the end of the day.
But I can see Joyce, though. Like I said comfort food because, you know, like we said, Lonnie was just a mess. Lonnie is just a user. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. And here's Bob. He loves Joyce. He cares about her. He doesn't care about, you know, he doesn't call Will a zombie or anything like that. He cares about Jonathan. So why wouldn't you, as a mother, want someone who's going to care about your kids? But there's Hopper. I mean, so I don't know. But Hopper needs, Hopper's put on a few pounds, so needs to get himself in shape if he wants Joyce.
He did look a little out of shape. He might be eating too many TV dinners. I'm worried about his health.
I did fit the costume pretty well. That's all I'm saying. I had it down pretty pat.
Last major new character is Dr. Owens, played by Mad About You's own Paul Reiser. Interesting character. So maybe he's taking the place of Brenner? Is he the new bad guy, or is he a good guy? Is he something in between? It's early on, so it's hard to get a read.
You can trust me.
But I will say that it's pretty well known and talked. I mean, I think they casted him because they loved his character in Aliens, where he was a bit two-faced. Do we think the same thing is going to happen here with his character on Stranger Things?
I mean, if so, even I like that more than Brenner. I know I talked during our season 1 watch about the fact that I thought Brenner was a little two-dimensional. And even in this episode, I like the fact that you initially bring him in as sort of like this very genial child doctor. He's really making a lot of small talk with Will, and it seems like, as Jack said, he says, like, I'm here for you. You can trust me. I want to take care of you, make sure that Will is okay. And then he goes back, finds out that they've been monitoring them the entire time, and is sending people back into the very still active gate into the Upside Down. So I'm hoping that, I wouldn't necessarily call him a double agent, but I hope that he can be a little more duplicitous than someone like Brenner, who seemed pretty much like evil incarnate from the get-go, and everyone realized it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more subtlety to it. Next up here in top moments, number 5, Emo Will. Not Will. Sorry, Emo Mike. I mistyped there. But
it does say Will.
It does. It's my.
I go, what are you picking on Will for?
No, I'm sorry. Emo Mike. He is brokenhearted.
He's also on a little bit of a bad streak, right? I mean, we saw him sort of like in a comic moment steal money from Nancy, but apparently this is the latest in a series of capers that he has done, including graffitiing the bathroom,
Everyone does that, Mom.
I can only imagine what someone like Mike would be writing, and like, I don't know how good his penmanship would be as a result. But yeah, it's interesting to sort of, I feel like Lucas and Dustin haven't changed in particular in the year in between, but I feel like Mike really has. I mean, he really had an attachment for 11 to the point of where he is sitting every day fruitlessly in that shelter he built for her in the basement on that radio channel, just hoping one day she'll find him on it. And, she does, which is great. And I cannot wait to see the two of them reunite, but very lovelorn.
I don't understand why Mike is acting out when his dad is giving him such great advice.
Wait, can we talk about, like, can we call every episode like the derp dad moment of the episode? Because I feel like it's got to be that.
You got to hunker down and pull forward, son.
Well, no, I like Mike saying, like, all the kids graffiti the bathroom. He goes, well, if they jumped off a bridge, would you do it? Like, there was like a fun derp moment from the finale where the Hawkins guys are talking to the family and the dad like salutes them for some reason. I really hope we can keep like a running tally. There's even a moment in episode 2 that I'm sure we'll point out once we get to it.
Okay, yeah. But Mike's just looking at him rolling. I'll be honest with you. If and Jake can back me up on this, my kids wouldn't have rolled their eyes on me like that.
Well, in all fairness, you're a tad bit more involved and engaged than Mike's dad.
Are you rolling your eyes at me? Son.
Language. What did I do?
When I was you got to be part of a team. And if I was part of the team, I'd throw you off the team or whatever he said.
Yeah, weird analogy.
It was almost like he watched all the Brady Bunch, like binge watched the Brady Bunch and had all his Mike Brady information or Mike Brady lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike wasn't buying it.
No, not so much. Now, here's the thing. So since they're are they 13 now? Or were they 12 last? Because a year later, we're getting into the teenage years. Is this going to? Because I will say, out of all of Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix, I think was my least favorite one because Harry Potter was kind of whiny in book 5. Are we at risk of being annoyed by a whiny Mike in this season?
I don't know. Would you rather have whiny Harry Potter in book 5 or horny Harry Potter in book 6? That's a real tough choice. But Mike's a little bit of both. I agree.
I was gonna say.
In those first 2 episodes, though, I do feel like we're getting a little bit of a negative Nancy vibe on Mike. But I feel like if and when he gets reunited with 11, that'll put some pep back in his step, and we'll get the old Mike back. Because I don't want to see him like this.
Yeah. Number 6, Will goes in for tests at Hawkins. We talked about this already. Like, really, Will has to go back to there? Like, I see maybe doctors like, oh, we're all new people. The people that did this are bad, but kind of.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, I do like Joyce. She probably doesn't have money to go to, but like, obviously,
she's driving the Deathmobile, the Pinto. So that.
I wonder in the finale. Remember, we had Joyce and Hopper make a deal with Hawkins Lab to able to get them in the Upside Down to get Will. Do you feel like something as part of that verbal contract might have been, if you get him out, we have to investigate him?
Yeah, probably.
I'd be like, okay, I got him out, but without any help from you, I wouldn't do it. Well, I wouldn't send my kid back.
But if you don't have a choice, if this is like a powerful government,
I mean, I don't have a choice. What do you mean I don't have a choice?
Either we'll take away your son from you.
And they'll put him right back in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
I live
put
in
him right
America.
back where you came from.
I guess so.
And last top moment I have here: 11 is alive and living in a cabin in the woods with Hopper.
Living a van down by the river.
Roll doobies like you do in the arcade. I do want to also take this moment to mention a little bit. There's this other new character who we only saw in episode 1, but I feel like we're going to see a lot more of him. This Murray guy, who's played by a comedian named Brett Gelman, who I absolutely love. It was so weird to see him there, but he's this guy that Barb's parents brought him in. He's like an investigator.
Oh, the conspiracy theorist guy.
Yeah, conspiracy theorist, but who's also kind of right. I mean, granted, he has this theory that 11's a Russian sleeper cell essentially, but he catches on to this idea of like, he talks about when she broke the windows in the grocery store, and he feels like she's still around. And technically, he's right. I wonder, amidst everything that's going on, how much he's going to play a part. But the fact that you have someone who is on their trail might not lead to good things.
That is true. Like, and will he represent because it's interesting. You have those characters that kind of represent the voice of the viewer. Is he gonna be that person? Like who would be the, say Hurley to Lost? Like is there that kind of equivalent in this show, and will this character be that for it?
I didn't think I forgot. Actually, I forgot all about him until
so maybe not.
I would think for a second it'd be a one-time thing until they have KFC with Barb's parents later that episode, and they mention him again. So I feel if they only mention him, since they mention him again, you have to feel like he's got to be at least a little noteworthy. Maybe he'll like throw them off in episode 5 or 6 or something before they get back on the right path. But I feel like we might see more Murray. Who knows? Maybe Murray will be the one to flush 11 eventually out of this cabin and get her back in the thick of things.
Or like will he suffer the fate of like what's the lawyer in Jurassic Park? Like he'll just be eaten by something eventually, but hilariously.
On the toilet?
Yeah, just something.
As long as there's just some comedy.
Like if he's an annoying conspiracy theorist, like if that's how he goes, I think that'd be kind of funny. But maybe that's just me being sadistic. So 11 is alive, living with Hopper. I thought this was a really sweet scene, and they're having the dinner together. It's like, oh, he's taking care of her. Any final thoughts here for this scene or this episode for the coming back to season 2?
I agree. I like the scene. It was nice. It was because you see we in season 1 with Hopper. We see how he loses his daughter. Now he's taking care of 11.
Yeah, that was really
protects
sweet.
her. I mean, it was 11 is obviously got an attachment to him. So yeah, I liked it. It was a great scene.
Mike, any thoughts from you?
No, I mean, I think we'll have more to say in the next episode because we get a very small taste of it here, but we're going to see much more of it, including how 11 essentially got to that point in the next episode.
All right, well, let's get into it. Chapter 2, Trick or Treat Freak. In flashbacks, 11 manages to escape from the Upside Down, but is forced to remain hidden in the woods to avoid the government agents. In the present day, the kids prepare for Halloween. 11 asks to go trick-or-treating, but Hopper insists that she needs to remain hidden. Hopper investigates when pumpkin patches all over town suddenly start rotting. Nancy wants to tell Barb's parents the truth about Barb's death, but Steve insists that it's a bad idea, as the government agents might come after them if they told anyone the truth. Instead, they attend a Halloween party where Nancy gets drunk and berates Steve until he leaves. Jonathan takes Nancy home. Mike, Will, Dustin, and Lucas go trick-or-treating. Later joined by Max during the night, Will has another episode and tells Mike about his visions. Mike admits that he's still trying to contact 11. 11 tries to contact Mike using her powers, but is unsuccessful. Dustin returns home after trick-or-treating and finds a strange creature in his trash can. All right, top moments here. Number 1, especially for me, Ghostbusters is cool.
Yeah, they were real cool when they went to school wearing those Ghostbuster costumes.
Yeah, so what do you think happened here? Was it just that they said that they dressed up last year, and was it just like a thing where everyone else maybe they were off doing all their will-based stuff that I don't know, nobody told them about it? Do you think it was like a school-wide propaganda trick on these kids? I'm glad that they didn't focus on it, though, because I don't want to necessarily watch an episode of these kids get kicked around and made fun of by everyone else.
I thought it was more of, it's the next grade up, and, there is that threshold where, people stop dressing up. So I thought it was just like a fun play on, they're still, want to do the fun of dressing up for Halloween. Everybody else is trying to be cool and more.
But weren't they at the same school?
Yeah.
So what?
But you're growing up in the next grade, and it's like, oh, maybe it's not cool to dress up at school anymore.
But nobody in the school was dressed up.
Or were they freshmen in high school? I don't know if they're going to. I can't remember.
Well, you have the same science teacher.
I'm trying to figure out if it was I guess so, because I was trying to figure out, obviously everyone carpools together, it seems, but I was trying to wonder, sometimes you have these school complexes where the middle school's right next to the high school. I wonder if we're dealing with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think it was just a play on, it's not cool to dress up at school anymore, and they kind of were on the outs on that.
It was funny. I enjoyed it. And the whole Beckman thing.
Both Mike and Lucas wanted to be.
Well, why don't you go ahead and say it, Mike? Why don't you go and say it? That's not what I'm thinking.
Again, emo Mike strikes again here. But those are awesome costumes. I will say, talking about some good parenting here, my parents could never make me a costume that looked that accurate as a kid. So we can judge the parents harshly all the time, but I got to give their parents
your parents didn't care.
Clearly.
Now, could Ghostbusters costumes work today? Do you think we've gotten to the point of where the school would take it as the proton pack, some form of a weapon, and they could only just walk around with the. I mean, when I was in high school, I dressed up as Gilligan one Halloween, and they didn't even let me wear the hat. So I was just some guy in a red sweater for Halloween. Yeah,
why couldn't you wear the sailor hat?
Because I think we usually had a no hat rule in school. I thought they sort of curbed that on Halloween, but apparently not. So yeah, I just had to. They took the hat, and I just walked around in a red sweater the entire day.
Oh man. That's brutal.
You need the skipper to go on. Here's my little buddy. Dope.
Yeah, so a cool opening with the Ghostbusters. I will say, as it's my favorite.
I know Jay spilled all kinds of popcorn on the ground. He was so excited.
And I was wearing the Ghostbuster costume, so I felt pretty cool. I knew this was coming, or that there would be an association with Ghostbusters. Ivan Reitman at the Ghostbusters panel at Comic-Con this year said that the Duffer Brothers reached out to him and Ghost Corps, which is the company that Reitman runs, for Ghostbusters stuff, and
That
they
is
worked partnered with them for a lot of the stuff in this episode. So I was pretty pumped at the homage and the love for that, because I mean Duffer Brothers about the same age as me, so pretty cool.
You guys mentioned the quality of the costumes. Now, did Will's costume, was it not as top notch as the other three?
No, it looked good. I mean, you saw Joyce working on it. She was sewing the patch in episode 1.
But it did look different than the other three.
It did? I didn't notice that.
Yeah. If you go back and watch it, it's. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I think you're a bully.
Was I bullied? Yeah, I was a bully in school.
So Lucas
I was a 4'8" bully. That's me.
Lucas and Dustin crushing on Max, just funny. I them trying to woo Max. I found really funny.
Well, it's weird because are they competing or are they cooperating? What's the end goal for these two? Are they? I mean, I've watched a certain other piece or read another piece of pop culture that deals with children. Young group of children and one redhead girl, and things do not end well there. They get very dirty very quickly. So I'm hoping we don't go in that direction with Max here.
Yeah, I don't think you can really do the conclusion to the children's story.
Well, right now they're in the friend zone, right?
Yeah, definitely. But in terms of what Mike's referencing, I don't think it can go there. I think it's the classic, two friends, crushing on the same girl. Eventually, one's gonna have to win out.
And then what happens?
Maybe there's a falling out. Maybe the party breaks.
It's very presumptuous of you to assume that.
What?
Do you know what that means, presumptuous? Because Dustin does
yes.
not.
I forgot about that. That was funny. All right, number 3, how 11 ended up with Hopper. So we get flashbacks for 11 catching her up to the scene that kind of shows them living together in this cabin. Any thoughts here? I mean, is this a satisfying kind of story to bring her up to the current timeline and what happened to her?
I mean, I guess I'd rather have this than some sort of weird. I mean, not to spoil Westworld, but if we're going all Westworld and doing multiple timelines during season 2, I guess if they want to put 11 into the main action, I'm sort of happy that they caught us up in a few choice flashbacks. I personally was really interested in how quickly they brought her back. Like you said, Jay, from the trailers, we knew they'd bring her back, but beginning of episode 2, it seemed like she pooped herself into the Upside Down, walked around for 5 minutes, saw there was another hole, and then blasted her way out. That was I thought we were going to get a little bit more time in the Upside Down, but it seems like they want to focus more on 11 actually being in our world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if she was going to stay in the Upside Down, what would you want her to do while she was over there?
I maybe it's just sort of world building. I would be intrigued to just have her explore the Upside Down, even if it was for an episode. If they did a weird standalone, not necessarily a bottle episode, but a solo episode with 11 navigating the Upside Down, because again, we barely saw it. And it's still such an interesting concept where the other thing that this blows open, much like what 11 did, is that we saw this in the tree last season. I feel like the gate opened up so many of these sort of perma portals all over Hawkins. I mean, 11 finds one right there in the school as well that we're definitely not done with the Upside Down. I mean, Will's little episodes are an indication as well, but the fact that now there's an opportunity, there are so many points of weaknesses where things can get through, definitely indicates that we are in probably for a number of big bads coming our way over the next few seasons.
Well, and here's my follow-up question to that. With Dr. Owens, we're kind of okay, where is he? Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is he in the middle? Do you think he's looking like he's containing it with his little room and flamethrowers on the technicals or whatever? But is he actually containing it, or does he know that it's spreading, or does he think? I mean, what's the MO here for Hawkins Lab, and what do you think they think's going on?
Maybe they don't know.
Yeah, do they know? Do they not know? I mean, what's their intention? That's.
I mean, maybe that's
it's a
why
good call out, Mike. Because if there's that hole there could be ones elsewhere.
Well, maybe that's why they're not showing us more of the Upside Down world, because they're having that slow telling the story drag up because maybe they don't know what's going on in there. So if they show us. And
you have to wonder, I mean, again, we skipped this year, and I feel like through 11 we saw some flashbacks to what she was doing. I feel like we might get more of these as like what happened in the year in between. I'd be intrigued to see what happens from the Hawkins perspective. You know, is it like from the first minute that, you know, 11's gone and Hawkins debriefs the Wheelers that they take off and suddenly they wipe the slate clean and rebuild again? Are they going to, as Jay might be alluding to, try to like, I don't know, set scouters around the town to track where these holes might be? I'm not entirely sure because, yeah, as Jack said, we really don't know. We've seen, especially in this episode, it's like 2 scenes of, you know, Dr. Owens kind of skulking and then fixing the telecom within the Upside Down that made the circuit board fry up at the end of the first episode. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Exactly. Number 4, Rotting Pumpkins. You know, it actually, does the Rotting Pumpkins tie into, how does that tie into, you know, the greater story here?
Yeah, I mean, I bet there's something with those holes around, because Hopper also felt like this weird goop on the trees too. I bet there's some sort of portal there, and that's why there's all this rot permeating from it. I'm not entirely sure, but that's another one, almost like Murray, where like you get this sort of thing like, oh yeah, the pumpkin patch rotted, but then you have the guy who was accused of poisoning the pumpkins say, oh no, mine's rotting too, and it seems like, I don't know, something's after the pumpkins.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe it had something to do with Will and his flash when he's flashing the Upside Down world.
Oh, and he's actually killing the pumpkins?
That he doesn't know he's doing it, but every time something happens, it seems like that we find more rotting pumpkins.
It's interesting. I'm looking at Will's episodes. I would almost compare it to, and again, this is the Sean Astin lover in me, compare it to what Frodo does with the ring in Lord of the Rings films. Jack, I know you haven't seen all of them. I'll try not to spoil it too much for you, but essentially you see as he uses it more and more, which again has him kind of viewing the world in a different mind frame, but you notice that like things kind of change and he kind of changes the more he uses it. So like Jack's saying, maybe it's a matter of like, as Will keeps dipping in there, and maybe they're going to try to weaponize Will to have him, you know, go into the Upside Down and see what might be happening, but that's going to affect him more and more and lead him more into that freak zombie boy territory that everyone's sort of stigmatizing towards him.
Right.
Yeah. We meet, at number 5, we meet Barb's family, and Nancy wants to go public.
This was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you sit there and eat the chicken?
Here's my thing: if you have to be quiet, like why go have dinner? Like just make it harder. I would think.
Well, I think they're trying to. You know, it looks like something they do all the time because they feel guilty because they killed her. And now I was talking to Chris Drake at the party, and I think we were talking about this. That did they have this planned out all along? Or was it just such a big deal that people made such a big deal about Barb being? That no one cared that Barb was gone, that they had to bring that into season 2.
I think because in interviews with the Duffer Brothers, they said like we're gonna address the whole Barb thing in this season. So I think that's a fair question to ask. Like the way they handled Barb in season 1, is that why there was kind of this big Barb kind of response so far in these first 2 episodes? Because
it really shows that Nancy is just so more remorseful this season than last season. Last season, here's the camera for you, Jonathan. I'm going to go sit on the couch with my boyfriend.
Well, I think you showed that was maybe a bit of a facade, or just, you know, trying to normalize after such a...
Yeah, but it didn't seem like she was too broken up about it.
Well, you have to wonder as well if, as you said, if this is just sort of also fodder for the teen storyline, too, because, I mean, outside of the love triangle, there isn't too much, and so to really bring in Nancy's sort of form of PTSD or BTSD, I guess, if we're putting Barb in there. But this idea that she is profoundly emotionally affected by it. I do agree that it might have been a little bit of fan service, that they feel like they need to acknowledge Barb because Barb is officially dead and gone. But I think it also plays really interestingly into the characters and the next moment that we're going to talk about, which is sort of like I'd say like the dissolving, but probably also the subsequent building back up of her and Steve's relationship. It's causing a lot of strife because Steve's able to just say like, hey, we need to keep our cool. We can't reveal anything. But it's clear that like Nancy's guilt and emotions are getting the best of her in this circumstance.
Well, actually, Steve, if he's because they're worried about, he said, they could take our family. They could do all kinds of things. So he's afraid of what the government could do to him.
And
Nancy's just drunk.
Yeah, well, our next moment here, they have this crazy teen party, and Nancy drunkenly tells Steve she doesn't love him. And then Jonathan goes to this party and takes her home.
Was this at Steve's house, or was this just at some sort of random person's
It was
house?
it wasn't Steve's. It was, they kept saying the name. It was like Tina or something like that.
Yeah, it could be at Steve's house because he got in trouble for that party.
That's true.
Yeah, actually,
the big party he had last time.
Was this a fan service, or was it again a response to like, okay, Steve's party was like 4 people at his house. Yeah. This is a party.
Yeah, there was like a keg,
5.
and
You
everything.
Jay, you already forgot about Barb. There was 5 people at that
I'm
party.
sorry.
But can we figure out what Nancy and Steve were supposed to be? I mean, this was one of my favorite low-key moments from the trailer was this one shot of Steve wearing sunglasses indoors, bobbing his head along like some sort of Night at the Roxbury goober.
Wasn't he Tom Cruise?
Was he Tom Cruise in Risky Business?
I think so, yeah. And Barb, I could never. I said maid. I couldn't figure. We could not Barb. Nancy. I don't know. No one.
Nancy,
what's
what's her name's character from Risky Business? Is that a dress that she wore?
I don't think she wore a dress.
The prostitute, or I'm thinking a bachelor party.
I don't think she wore a dress.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it's also, I don't know, a little bit of a Halloween faux pas in my point of view to wear white, especially when she's getting near all of that punch, which looked super sketchy considering that there was a nice vapor dry ice film over it consistently the entire night.
But I will agree, the moment of him in the head bobbing, that's a GIF now that's very popular from that trailer. So it was nice to see the scene at which I'm sorry, I love Steve. I know Nancy doesn't love Steve apparently, but I love him.
I gotta be honest though, I didn't like Steve. If I'm the dad, well, not this dad, but if some guy leaves my drunken daughter at a party, I mean, luckily Jonathan was there.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what happened. Maybe it's like you need to take her home or something.
That's the last time Steve takes my daughter out.
So we're definitively in the camp that like they were both wrong here, right? I feel like Nancy probably shouldn't have said that. Granted, I think she was under the influence, but Steve also shouldn't have just like left a completely wasted girl, probably getting drunk for the first time in her life, behind in this house full of people that she doesn't know.
Exactly. Bad move, Steve. All
right.
If everyone left their girlfriend at the party, would you?
Huh? Me? Anyway, number 7 here. The D&D crew goes trick-or-treating, and Max joins them, and we have some more emo Mike because of it.
Who voted? Who?
We can't have another girl in here.
It's only room for one.
Is she replacing 11? Now, that could have been how he was looking at it.
No, I get it. I get where he's upset.
That's completely how he was looking at it. He was saying that, like, no, it's almost like they were sitting around the Seder table, and you always leave a chair open for Elijah, and if your relative sneaks in late and takes that chair, it's considered rude and offensive, and that's essentially, Max is a Seder crasher here. She's trying to get in on the seat that Mike says is occupied in a memorial sense.
But here's the thing, like, he everybody else had to deal with his crush on 11 last year, so he needs to, like, okay, I gotta give him some space here.
To be fair to Mike, though, 11 could actually help save Will. What's Max doing?
We don't know. We don't know how she's gonna.
She's skateboard and she's great at video games.
Exactly. We don't know what her story is gonna bring and how she's gonna play out.
For some reason, I have.
She did save him later on, earlier on.
For some reason, I have this vision of like the Adam Sandler movie Pixels, where like there's gonna be like some sort of military coup and like a tank comes in, and then Max is gonna operate it because she's so good at Dig Dug, and she'll like avoid the Fessel Hydra's fireballs or something. That's what I'm projecting is going to happen. I really hope not.
I remember there being a video game that had a tank.
Tron has a tank, right? But no, honestly, Mike, if it's like that, if it's like that moment in Jurassic Park and I can't remember her name, where she like goes to the computer, is like, "This is a Unix system. I know this." If there's like that moment for Max, like, "This is like Dig Dug. I know this," and then she somehow like that would be.
Oh yeah, like when the kid hacks into Wayne Knight's computer. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Or like war games.
But yeah, so that would be fun.
Well, let's go back to Max, because there's a scene where her brother's upset that they're in this hick town because of her. He blames her for being in the town.
There's a story there. There's definitely a story
but
there.
But what is it?
I know.
Is she one of the chosen ones? Does she have a gift?
But we would see a tattoo, right?
Well, they didn't show us her arm. I mean,
she has a lot of hair, so who knows? Maybe it's on like the back of her neck or something. We only see her hair down, but yeah,
I don't know if I'd like that play. I'm just going to call it. I don't know if I'd like if she was another.
And she's extremely gifted at video games. So is she?
That's the worst superpower. Yes, you're like the little boy from The Wizard. That's your superpower.
You're really good at playing video games that will become completely irrelevant in 3 years.
But maybe the power she has is not that she's good at video games, but she's able to manipulate the video game to be good at it. Because they said nobody gets that kind of score on Dig Dug. Right?
Maybe. I'm
throwing it out there.
I'm throwing that's too crackpotty challenge flag. I'm throwing that one down. I'm throwing it.
What I will say from a storytelling perspective is that I was nervous that we were going to get like half a season of Max sort of like revolving around the group and not getting involved. I'm happy that, again, the trailer's going to indicate that they're going to join up together at some point. I'm happy that it happens sooner rather than later, just so we can see her interact with this group and we can find out more about her. Because as you said, there's a reason why they're here. Hawkins is a weird choice. It seems like a very specific choice. So we'll see exactly what that means, whether it means that she's a superpowered technical genius or just some sort of, I don't know, derelict, bad girl.
I will. Colleen had a great theory that maybe her dad is the Paul Reiser character, or like was brought in as part of this crew that replaced the original people of Hawkins. So if that plays out, I got to give credit to Colleen. That was
I thought.
But then why did Billy say it was her fault that they're there? It's not like, unless she was like, "Hey, let's go to Hawkins. Come on, Dad."
That's true.
Paul Reiser
that's
would
the
be
one
more
wrinkle.
Like wouldn't Paul Reiser be more like the grandfather?
I don't know. How old is Paul Reiser? Is he
know.
your age?
He's older than me.
Is he older than you, Paul Reiser?
He's got to be my age at least, because he was in the movie Diner, and I was like 18 or 19 when that movie came out.
Let's see. Paul
Have you guys
Paul
seen
Reiser
Diner?
He's the big 6'0".
Yeah, 60.
So yeah, he's 5 years older than me. So no, that Paul Reiser cannot be the dad.
Oh, you're not 60? I thought you were 60.
I feel 60, but I'm not. You guys have seen Diner, right?
Okay, hold on. He has two sons, one born in 95 and another one born in 2000. So,
wow. He has two sons that are younger than me.
So it's possible,
well,
Jack.
Okay, all right. So, but he's rich and has a nanny.
I was 10 years old by the time he had his first son. So there you go.
All right, but I'm gonna say right now he can't be the.
Okay.
I'm not buying him as the dad.
Okay. All right. But it could be, again, why would you come to Hawkins? Like I'm not saying it's I'm just saying
well,
it was
why
a good
would
theory by
why would he
Colleen.
why would he blame Max? Why would the brother blame
know.
Max?
He's crazy, obviously.
Have
you seen that hair? He's not making the best choices in life.
Did she deny it was her fault?
No, but we'll just have to see how that plays out. I don't want to spend too much time on that. But number 8, Will has another vision. Mike finds him and takes him home.
Or anyway.
What do you guys think? Do you think we got like Chekhov's video camera here, which I don't know, may have broken when Will ended up dropping it. Those things were those things were like pretty blocky and sturdy back in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
But do you feel somehow, and almost like in a paranormal activity sense, could detect something that's going on in the Upside Down that only Will can see?
Yeah, that would be. I didn't see Paranormal Activity, but it would be interesting to see if it somehow captured something on the video.
Did they pick up the camera?
We don't
I'm
know.
assuming
I
so.
assume they did.
I didn't see him pick up the camera because that's going to make.
So No,
Maybe
Bob will
Bob
not be
gets
angry with
upset.
that. He will not be upset with that. He'll be like, "Oh, boys will be boys. That's okay."
Yeah, but weren't like video cameras like $2
I'm just
grand
happy
back
I have
then?
Joyce. Do what?
Weren't video cameras like $2 grand back then, and wasn't that like $5 grand today? Like you had one of those. So Jack, how much was one of those
Our
big?
video camera was probably about $1,400, and it had a cool case.
Yeah.
And weighed like 7,000 pounds.
So
I don't know,
$1,400.
but Bob seems like a pretty big wheel at the Radio Shack, so maybe he was able to maybe it fell off a truck.
That could be. That could be it. He doesn't have to give his zip code. Yeah, it was a JVC though, right?
Yeah, JVC.
That was my first VCR.
Yeah, they invented the VCR, right? JVC, I think.
They
VHS
did,
technology,
they
I think, was theirs. Sony was Betamax. All right, number 9, Hopper screws up with Elle. He's so into these pumpkins. He forgets to get home by 5:15.
515.
And
you knew that when he said "I promise," that it was going to immediately get broken. Though I will also point out here, I do love the irony of 11 dressing up as a ghost, considering that that's what Mike kind of considers 11 at this point.
Yeah. Ah, good point. Yeah.
But I'm kind of with Elle. I mean, I get why Hopper is being so strict, but like if she went the ghost, nobody would knew it was her. I mean, I don't know.
No, but someone's gonna step on the sheet. It's gonna come off.
Or she'd go to every house and get a rock.
Yeah. No, she'd have to cut out like a bunch of other holes in her sheet to make that possible.
Here's the thing. I mean, she's a teenager, and how many times you got to know that if you're going to be like the oppressive, father, how often that does not go well.
Hopper doesn't have a lot of experience raising a teenage girl. Didn't really get to that point.
Ow. Oh, that hurt over here.
I think we're okay with my Coke joke at the beginning of this podcast.
Yes, that's true. But that's what I'm saying. I don't want to judge anybody's parenting, but I'm worried Hopper might be. This is the wrong approach to take with a teenage female.
His goal, though, he knows how dangerous these people are.
I know. But
he couldn't protect. Going to what Mike's statement was, he couldn't protect his daughter. Not that he couldn't protect her, right? So he's trying to protect.
Couldn't save her, yeah.
No, yeah,
couldn't save her.
I think that's a great point. He's almost, I don't want to say he's overcompensating, but he's very almost like smothering of saying like, I almost have a second chance here. I need to make sure that I do the best I can to make sure that nothing from an outside perspective is going to affect this sort of home life that I've brewed for myself.
Yeah. And he has tripwires and everything. So he is all in on
But again,
her.
well, how many times have to see like that approach doesn't work. But we'll just have to wait and see. 11 tries to contact Mike, so she has a new way of kind of having the bath experience with the white noise and the wrapping her head. It's very Rambo kind of style with the...
I was going to say Karate Kid.
Karate Kid, too, yeah. And tries to contact Mike. So she still knows that Mike is longing for her to come back.
And Mike didn't recognize her because she has hair now. Because he walked right by her.
Well, yeah, he can't really see her. But yes, tragic.
Were you? Did you tear up on that one, Jay?
I did, because I unlike Mike, I really enjoy the connection those two have. So I'm teasing Mike. But
so why do you keep calling him Emo Mike?
Because he's emo. I get why he's emo, but he's being emo.
At least he sort of has a brother in misery and Will from the conversation they have at the end of the episode of like, let's go crazy together. We're both, depressed for other different reasons, but
I'm depressed because I couldn't take this girl to the snowball. You're having trouble because you were in a toxic environment for a week and almost died.
Yeah, you're caught between two realities. I have blue balls. It's pretty much the same thing.
And last moment of the episode, Dustin notices something strange in his trash can. Who you gonna call? So what? Okay, last thoughts here. What do we think's in the trash can? Mike, you said you had some thoughts.
Oh, it's a porg. It's a thing. It's a little creature, Star Wars-esque creature, a little Ewok or what call you. They need something to shill out the merchandise. It's got to be small enough to be in a trash can. It's going to be this cute little CGI creature that they're going to keep as a pet and train to help it track down all the other stranger creatures that might abide in the in the shadows of this town.
I think that's a good call.
Maybe that's what's eating the pumpkins, destroying the pumpkins. I don't know.
That could what they're eating the pumpkins, I guess.
Maybe they need something inside. Maybe the pumpkin, whatever pumpkin stuff. I don't know. The seeds or whatever, and whatever they eat it, they leave behind maybe they're from the upside down world. Maybe it's like Mike said, it's a cute character. From
it's like a cute Demogorgon.
Yeah, and then
it's like Gremlins when Gizmo. Everyone's like, "Oh, we love Gizmo. Gizmo's cute.
That's
Gizmo's
true.
the best. This is our Gizmo."
Yeah.
Instead of eating things like Barb, it eats pumpkins. So there you go.
No, I think that's a good call. I think that's a good call. Like a reverse Gremlins. We start out with the nasty being, but then we go back to maybe the cute, cuddly thing that it was born from.
Can I keep it, Mom? That's what Dustin's going to tell his mom. The mom's going to say, "Oh, I have my cat. I don't care."
Oh, I love that Dustin's mom is such a cat lady.
Yes.
It's so much fun.
Yes, that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
So Dustin doesn't have a dad? Is that what we're saying?
Doesn't look like it. So yeah.
Unless, I don't know, maybe if things don't work out between Bob and Joyce, I could see another situation where Bob can get involved.
I like cats.
Oh man! All right.
I used to have a video recorder, but it broke.
My last family broke my camcorder. I pieced out of that.
You're not quite Joyce, but you'll do. I mean, that's okay.
All right. Final thoughts here before we move on to listener feedback.
I mean, there's a good reason why my wife decided to proceed immediately with episode 3 is because I think these first 2 episodes did a great job of saying, like, hey, this is where all of our characters are, but also they're dealing with a lot of stuff from the first season. It sort of ties back into the continuity of what we saw, what the 3 of us, most immediately saw, but adding a bunch of new stuff on top of it. You mentioned the new characters. Seems like there's a new monster, some other creatures, some other stuff that might be going on. So it's a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, but I'm very, very excited to see where this ends up going. It feels like they're already really, much like Billy, like going 45 miles an hour down a 30 residential road.
Yes. 45 mile an hour.
That was like 70, but yes.
At least. You had some Ted Nugent playing, right?
Yeah, Wango Tango. All right. Again, fitting that it's Billy playing some Ted Nugent. We do have some listener feedback. We got an email from Laura, so let's jump into that now. If you haven't taped your first episode for season 2 of Stranger Things, covering the first 2 episodes, here's some feedback. Wow, great start to the second season. I love the use of the flashback to tell Elle's story, and that they didn't wait to show us that she was still alive, especially since everyone knew that already. The acting by the kids is totally tubular, and I got Jack's Blue Bloods reference about the kids, or was that on the Ramblecast episode? Love the music and the 80s feel. I miss arcades. Anyway, my feedback is mostly questions that may or may not be answered in future episodes. Number 1, how was the destruction at the school cleaned up and explained? All those dead people, blood, ruined walls, etc. It wasn't a school holiday, and that kind of cleanup would take a while. So we'll just pause here for this first one. What do you guys think? That's a good question.
I think it's even a larger question as to, like, there was a bunch of random stuff going on in Hawkins. How are they able to, Hawkins lab didn't necessarily go around and neuralize them like you do in Men in Black. I wonder if they were like, oh, a wild animal got into the school, so we have to close it down for a couple days to, get everything patched up. But then you have, like, the appearance of Will as well. And I think the zombie boy thing, while very hurtful, I feel like from an outsider perspective, it makes sense. Like, oh my God, this kid turned up. Like, where the hell was he? So there's a lot of questions that somehow either this town is totally fine not answering, or for some reason they've been given this line by probably the Hawkins suits to believe as, oh yeah, this thing happened, but now we're ready to move on with our merry lives.
Well,
But
that's
going
kind of
with
like you were joking about Mike's dad, where he did a little salute and everything like that. Maybe it's just like in a small little town like this, people are it's still very trusting of the government. So if they're saying this is a thing, like, you bet we're all patriots here. Like there's less questioning of authority maybe in this town.
Okay, but here's the
Save
thing
for the new character. I can't remember when you talk about Mike. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
the comedian.
Murray.
Yeah, Murray.
Well, here's the problem I have. You guys are talking about this. Okay, they're calling him Zombie Boy. Well, why? How would they? He was just missing. Why would he be called Zombie Boy?
Because remember they had a funeral for him.
Yeah, they had a whole
town.
like Tom Sawyer thing where it's like, oh, he was dead, but he's not dead.
Forgot about that. Okay, never mind. I was like, why would who was talking in the town? Because the dad's a patriot. They're not gonna. We're all patriots here. So, yeah, okay. I forgot about the funeral. All right.
I also loved the Reagan Bush and the Mondale. What was her last name?
Ferrara.
The signs for the different
Ferrara.
families and seeing it like that dynamic. I thought that was fun.
But when does this take place again? It's 88.
Halloween 84. So that was
84.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it
84.
was in. I thought it was in 87, the first season. But yeah, that makes sense because I was gonna say, would the Wheelers support George H.W. Bush? Probably, because it's kind of like that's the dad in a nutshell.
Yep. Well, yeah. So he was going Reagan Bush. So 84. So but anyways, I thought that was a fun little illusion there. Number 2, I am confused about what's going on at Hawkins' lab. Are they using the fire to get through the opening to the Upside Down? But then how did that guy get through to replace the battery? Any thoughts about this? I haven't decided if Dr. Paul Reiser is good or bad. We haven't
Dr.
either.
Paul Reiser.
I think that clearly they're using the fire because it seemed like they were kind of burning it back because the little tentacles were all going.
Yeah. I think that they're sort of like doing like I know I made a reference to like James Cameron's The Abyss when we first saw them go in season 1, but I really think it's sort of like exploratory. I think they're sort of like keeping tabs on it and they're trying to figure out exactly what's in there. And it just so happens that like one of their little, I don't know, pings that they had, some sort of satellite contraption, ended up blowing a fuse and then they had to replace it. So I feel like they're keeping like very surreptitious tabs on the Upside Down, just trying to monitor exactly what might be going on there. Because again, this is something that fell into Hawkins' lab's lap. Brenner wasn't meaning to do this when he had 11 try to contact that and spy on that Russian guy. So I feel like they're just sort of trying to figure out what it is.
Yep.
I agree.
Agreed. Number 3, how did Hopper know to leave the food, and how did Elle know to even look in that box? Maybe the guy who got hit with the fiery dead squirrel told Hopper about what happened, and he put 2 and 2 together and started leaving the food. The evolution of the relationship is great to see.
We didn't even talk about the scene with the fiery dead squirrel. How she killed it originally, though.
Yeah, I mean,
she has it fly into a tree.
Yeah,
which I as it's not a squirrel. I'm not a squirrel lover, but I just thought it was pretty cool.
She's making do. She's got to eat something.
You got to eat. Got to survive.
I liked it in a sense. It answered the question, like, why is he leaving it in the box? Like, at least maybe he did hear things and he was leaving it out there to see.
But doesn't he leave it that same night?
The Christmas night or Christmas party?
No. It flashes to a
month.
It's a month later or something, right?
Yeah, because there was a bunch of snow on top of it.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Anywho, number 4, does Max's brother's license plate mean anything, or is it just to show us that they're from California? It was like PCE something. I thought it was more just showing they're from California, but I could be wrong with that. There's more astute people out there.
Well, again, going back to the movie The Wizard, Max is good at video games, and wasn't there like a destination California? I think it all makes sense.
It's all coming together.
It's tubular, man.
I mean, as a native Californian, like, I understand like the people that think you're from California, like, you're really cool and neat. So I understand maybe why they chose California as a place. Jack, I know you wouldn't understand because you're actually a Pennsylvania native. Maybe the Pittsburgh scene was cool for you, but I think I understand.
I'm not from Pittsburgh, but that's okay.
It's all the same, right? Pennsylvania.
No,
but
it's not all the same.
But no, I think maybe it's more of that. But I could be wrong. Absolutely wrong. My biggest question, what is up with the parents of teens in Hawkins? That party?
Wait,
Seriously?
I want to answer the California thing.
Oh,
though.
please go ahead.
Well, it's Billy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand if Billy's from California, you can understand why he's upset coming to a small town.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it might have just to paint like, okay, we need true outsiders coming into this small town, Midwestern, Hawkins suburbs. Who's it going to be? How about these people from coastal California? I feel like that's the best sort of black and white example.
Either
that
that
or
or like New York, right? It'd be one of those two.
Season 3.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes Tony. What are we doing?
I know our kids. I mean, Jay and my oldest daughter didn't like moving here originally from California to Raleigh. So I think as young teenagers, it's got to be hard going from a big city.
Yeah,
a big
no, absolutely.
place,
Well, it's like
to a small town.
That's the main plot point for Karate Kid, right? He came from, was it New York to a small California town or something?
I thought you were going to say Footloose.
Encino, though, but Encino's big, but it's not New York.
No. Number 5, my biggest question, what is up with the parents of the teens in Hawkins? That party? Seriously? I went to parties in the 80s in high school that were wild, but nowhere near as wild. All the people drinking and kegs. Are there no noisy neighbors around to call the cops? And once again, Jonathan is in Nancy's bedroom without her parents knowing. Clueless. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on these first 2 episodes. So hard to watch, only 2 at a time. I probably won't be able to restrain myself any longer. But if I come up with any more questions, I'll make them episode specific. Thank you, Laura.
Well, the dad sleeps on his recliner, so he's probably asleep after Jeopardy, and the mom has a young child to deal with, right?
I'm surprised
she's
they
probably
didn't.
got to go to bed early.
But I'm surprised with everything they didn't put up bars in Nancy's windows, considering that again, both cases it seems like they're able to easily jump up on the roof and put her to bed. It seems.
Yeah.
Well, did he carry it through the front door, right?
I guess he went through the front door. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that he sort of vaulted his way onto the roof while carrying Nancy over his shoulder.
These parents they are clueless. They're all clueless. All the like I said, the party was but could it be one of the houses that were out in Joyce's house out in the woods somewhere? There's a lot of wooded areas, so maybe the parents are out of town. Steve's house looked like it wasn't surrounded by other houses. So
plus, do we not remember the cops? Do we not remember the 2 dumb asses that work with Hopper? If they got a noise complaint called into them, they wouldn't know the first thing to do.
It's true.
That's true.
It's very true.
They'd have to check their book. What call is that?
Man. All right, and so Laura, thank you for the email. A lot of great questions. Again, if anybody sends emails, please make them episode specific. Next week we're doing the next 2 chapters of Stranger Things. But all right, that'll do it for this coming into season 2 of Stranger Things. Excited to be podcasting about it. Excited to be talking with you 2 fine gentlemen about it. Give us a call at 385-309-0311.
Only time.
Once again, it's 385-309-0311. Calling time for questions, comments, and or theories. Give us an email at strangerthingsjjm@gmail.com. Once again, strangerthingsjjm@gmail.com. Join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/JNJackGroup. We have different categorized threads for, I think chunks of 3 episodes is how they're doing it on the Facebook group.
I'm ignoring it, so I don't.
But if you want to discuss it, it's happening there among many other TV show discussions. Speaking of TV shows, we are podcasting about other TV shows this season. We got Survivor with Jay, Jack, and Colleen, and Dancing with the Stars with Cindy, Jack, and Heather. Those are all on our feed at jayandjack.com/iTunes. We also have a Walking Dead podcast on the network. Jack and Matt have relinquished that.
And talking about yesterday, we were both seemed pretty happy about it.
Yes, it seems Walking Dead continues to be Walking Dead, whatever that means. Also, Owen and Brew's Barbecue, our Star Wars podcast, as we're getting ready, getting closer and closer to The Last Jedi. More and more things to come there. And the broadcast and the Ramblecast. We had a fun After Dark episode yesterday with a fantastic Matt list.
Without the Matt list, I think I laughed for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Oh my God!
It was so bad it was good. And we also did a special Patrons Choice show. So for anybody that contributes $5 or more a month, we did a show talking about scariest or our top 5 scariest movies.
All right.
And that was Matt.
Let me ask Mike. Can I ask Mike a question real quick?
Really quick.
All right, Mike. E.T. and the video Thriller, do they belong in scariest movies of all time?
I mean, E.T. is a movie. Thriller is not. So that's the first point I'll take against it. I mean, it's sort of like where you put your mind frame, because I feel like, especially nowadays, what my generation likes to do is be like, these are the things that scared me as a kid. They're not scary anymore. So if you're relying on like something that scares you throughout your life, I feel like you could count something like E.T. in there. There's horrifying things like when E.T. was dying, which still traumatized me. I feel like the Thriller stuff could be genuinely scary in some environments, but it's also not a movie.
All right. Thank you.
Find out what Jack's really talking about if you are a patron that gives $5 or more a month on this week's or this month's Patrons Choice podcast. Speaking of patrons, I want to thank the people that make this show possible. Our patrons over at patreon.com/Jay and Jack, whether you contribute $1 all the way on up to $1 million a month. All of your contributions, whatever you can give, helps make these shows possible. Also, there's other ways you can help support this show. Give us a review on iTunes. If you enjoy what we do here, a 5-star review goes a long way to help with our rankings. Thank you for everybody that's been giving reviews to the show. The more, the merrier. Also, if you use Amazon, use the link jayandjack.com/Amazon. It'll take you to the normal Amazon page, but anything you buy, a small percentage of that sale will go to the Jay and Jack production fold. So those are ways you can help support the show if you enjoy what we do. Mike podcasts a plethora amounts or a lot of podcasts each week. Mike, where can people find some of the stuff you're doing right now?
You can follow all the general stuff that I'm plugging at a Mike Bloom type on Twitter, doing a lot of Survivor stuff. I do parade exit interviews with the hero, healer, hustler that has been most recently voted off. I do a weekly Survivor Fun and Games podcast on Rob Has a Podcast. We actually just last night finished up Survivor Token Sheens on the Survivor Historian, which is another Survivor podcast that I'm a part of that does retrospectives of past seasons. I also do SNL podcasts on post-show recaps. I do The Hamster Factor with AJ Mass, where he made me watch The Babadook for the first time, and I disliked every minute of it. And I'm going to talk with him about how much I was appreciative of it. I think it's a good piece of film, but I did not enjoy a minute of it, if that makes any sense. But be sure to check those out. And yeah, much more merriment to come, including this podcast. I'm super excited. You know, it's a really exciting season even so far, but I'm even more excited to just jump into everything and start spitballing a bunch of ideas back and forth. I feel like season 1 was a lot of me just sort of talking my thoughts out loud, and you guys sort of being like, yeah, maybe that'll happen, or maybe it won't. Now we're all in the same place, so we can all just bounce ideas off of each other, none of which will probably come to fruition.
But it's fun anyway.
Exactly. That's the fun of it.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. I think
awesome.
That will do it.
Tubular.
Awesome.
Totally tubular. That will do it for this week's show. We'll see you guys next week for the next 2 chapters of Stranger Things. Jack, you can now go watch the next 2.
I'm so excited. I'm really going to go watch them. I probably have to watch Lucifer first, but after that, then I'll...
Until then, we'll see you. Hasta luego and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
When we listen to the radio, we never agree on the station.
Classic rock.
Hip hop. Pop. Guys, quiet. The one thing we do agree on, we all want an awesome free phone. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 free phones of your choice from brands you love, like Samsung, Motorola, and LG when you switch. Metro PCS. Wireless figured out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Free phone requires port. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
When we listen to the radio, we never agree on the station.
Classic rock.
Hip hop. Pop. Guys, quiet. The one thing we do agree on, we all want an awesome free phone. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 free phones of your choice from brands you love, like Samsung, Motorola, and LG when you switch. Metro PCS. Wireless figured out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Free phone requires port. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.